A very long time ago, sometime in the 16th century in what is now Andhra Pradesh, a baby boy was born into a family of priests of very modest means. He was named Ramakrishna. A story, a sprinkling of magic. Namaskaram. Welcome to Stories and Magic with me, Mahita. Ramakrishna was still very young when his father died, and his mother, Lakshmi, unable to make ends meet, went to live with her brother in her native village of Tenali. Caught between the Shaivite Vaishnavite social conflict, Ramakrishna could not get an education. Those who could have taught him were reluctant to because his faith was not theirs, and those who wanted to were so busy making a meager living in a land where their belief was not the majority one, and they had no time to teach him. Ramakrishna begged, pleaded, even stood outside the school compound wall, listening to the children inside reciting their lessons and repeating these to himself. But he couldn't go very far. Unusual that a boy this young would want so much to go to school, isn't it? But then Ramakrishna was not your regular young person. Finally, disheartened that his efforts took him nowhere, he spent his days lying under trees, watching clouds, and creating stories around their shifting shapes, throwing stones at wandering goats and birds, and filling his stomach with mangoes and guavas stolen from his neighbors' farms. Some days, bored with having nothing to do, he trekked to the jungles nearby and spent his days there, doing nothing. One day, throwing a stone at a ripe mango far above his reach, he accidentally hit a sadhu sitting under the tree in meditation. Anybody else, if they could have caught Ramakrishna, would have thrashed him, but not this sadhu. Hearing the boy's story, he felt sorry for him and offered to teach him for the short time that he was there in Ramakrishna's village. Ramakrishna, looking upon this man who offered him unusual kindness as his guru, served him as well as he could. And the sadhu, in turn, spent hours talking to him about poetry, literature, the scriptures, and the ways of man and God. Finally, the seasons changed, and it was time for the sadhu to leave. Blessing his young, good natured, good hearted, and no longer good for nothing student, the sadhu taught him a mantra, asking him to go to the Kali temple that was on a hill beyond the borders of the village across the jungles. Repeat the mantra, my son, and if you repeat it with strong devotion, the goddess will surely appear before you and bless you. How many times? Ramakrishna asked. 100, 1,000, 11 crore times? The sadhu smiled. The numbers don't matter, Rama. Only the devotion does. Ramakrishna applied the dust of his guru's feet on his head and left, not stopping to rest till he found the little stone temple on top of a hill across the jungle beyond the borders of his village. He bathed in the river nearby, swept the temple clean, bathed the Devis idol, collected flowers and leaves and vines to decorate her home, ran back to collect fruits and flowers as her offering, and then he sat down to chant. I cannot tell you if it was just one day or a day and night or 11 days, but the Devi eventually was pleased with the young boy's devotion and appeared before him in her grandest form, dressed in red silk. She had 1,000 heads and was seated on her Simha Vahana. Rama, having spent enough time in the forest to lose his fear of the unknown and the unusual, was stunned by her beauty and fascinated by her form. He fell at her feet in a Shashtanga Namaskara and rose to find the Devi offering him 2 bowls. Choose, Rama, she said. Will you have the sweet milk of wealth or the sour curds of wisdom? How can I choose? He asked. I haven't tasted either, and I would like to decide after I've had a chance to try both. Pleased with his answer, the Devi held out both the bowls. Ramakrishna, grabbing both, gulped down their contents. And before the Devi could burn him to ash with her wrath or curse him with a life worse than the one he was already living, he threw himself at her feet begging forgiveness? What use is knowledge to me without wealth to make something out of it? And what use is wealth without the wisdom to use it well? Ma Kali was pleased and blessed him with an abundance of both. Ramakrishna went back to his village, carrying with him the presence of Durga, Lakshmi, and Saraswathi. He went on to occupy a seat of power in the court of the Emperor Krishnadevaraya, to compose a series of narrative poems and religious works, and to fight the social ills that stood in his way when he was a child growing up. In this Navratri season, here's my wish for you, for me, and for all of us. May we always be blessed with the presence of the three Devis: Durga, the personification of the will to act; Lakshmi, for wealth of all kinds; and Saraswati, for the knowledge to use these blessings wisely and well.